Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Nasser, and this is the Cleveland C# User Group. A little bit about the group. We meet every month. Meetings are free of charge and open to the public, and we cover a variety of topics related to .NET. You can find all the meeting information posted at meetup.com at the link listed at the bottom of the slide. We'd like to thank our sponsors, PostSharp and DevExpress, for sponsoring the prizes that will be raffled off using the eval forms. We'd like to thank the .NET Foundation for sponsoring the Meetup website. And last but not least, NIS Technologies for sponsoring the virtual meeting space. Some general information. Please keep in mind participation is encouraged. And like I always say, the only stupid question is the one not being asked. However, when not speaking, kindly ask you to mute your microphones just to avoid any background noise. And we always like to keep it casual but organized. So feel free to jump in with any questions or comments. But at the same time, we want to give our presenter enough time to go through the slides and the demos. The presentation is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube in just a couple days after the editing. So for tonight's feature presentation, we have Microsoft 365 Copilot by Bruce Szabo. Bruce is a client technology director for Microsoft. He has over 17 years of experience where he evaluates and adopts cloud and AI solutions for financial institutions. In addition, he leverages the power of Microsoft Azure, SQL Server, and machine learning. And with that, Bruce, glad to have you.
Great to be here, Sam. Awesome. Sam did this better than I could, but there's my LinkedIn if you want to connect. So I'll do some level setting here. How did we get here? What are we talking about? How things work. Have a few demos that I'll go through, showing you like the things that I'm kind of using Copilot for Microsoft 364, and then where to go with extensibility, although I believe that Sam's talked a little bit about that, but I do have one slide at the end that talks a little bit about that, and then some questions and answers. I've done this presentation once before, so feel free to interrupt me if I'm going in the wrong direction as I put things together. There's just a ton of ways we can go on this, so feel free to cut off mute and interrupt me. So Sam said, I've been at Microsoft now for 17 years. I started off in the SQL Azure space or SQL space back in the day, on-prem SQL. So I always have a fondness for it, but have since, as a technology director, I'm a half-inch deep, 2 miles wide. I used to be an inch deep, mile wide, but the technologies kept growing, and we're not killing enough that I can stay up on things. So things like Viva, Copilot, all of Azure, OpenAI, like it's just crazy. And right now I am a big fan of AI. I do walk into some skeptics like it's hey, it gets things wrong. Like I don't know what coworkers people work with that don't get things wrong, but I wish they were on my team because I ask people questions all the time and they get things wrong. What I've really found is I've been able to ask questions surprisingly, sometimes even at Microsoft, like licensing questions, and usually it's not the core things that they'll ask, it's the tangential things, like how do you license to do, how do you do these things? And generally from my role, I would spin this out to 3 or 4 people and take up their time. Now I can start to ask questions using Copilot within Microsoft 365, find these answers, and then send them to the one person whose job it is to know and say, hey, do these look right to you? This is what I got at Copilot. I think they look good. Make sure there's no hallucinations and that we're not, making stuff up. But so super, that's where some of this time savings is starting to come in. I don't know if you've seen this slide, but in terms of things taking off quickly, ChatGPT, it took 3 months to hit 100 million users, which is crazy fast. And gosh, I feel like we used to see these slides and it was like, how long did it take to get to 1 million users? Now we're talking hundreds of millions of users. And again, I think you're seeing it even when I went out to dinner with some friends who I wouldn't consider, IT at any stretch of the imagination, but starting to use it to practice for interviews. Hey, what kind of questions might I get asked? As a matter of fact, my son just had a C-suite meeting, and I said, hey, go out to ChatGPT and talk a little bit about, who you're talking with, what you're going to be talking about, and have it ask you questions so you're kind of prepped for that. So super interesting use cases as we continue to go through this field. Okay, so I hate this build slide, but I haven't found anything better yet. We're going to be talking about this Copilot for Microsoft 365 right here. we'll dabble a little bit in the Bing Copilot, and then as developers, where might you want to go next? If you want to add Copilot to yourself, I would point you over to this lower right-hand corner to Copilots and our Copilot Studio area. When Sam, as I was going through this, he's like, hey, remember to talk about like how developers could use it. I'm like, gosh, that's a whole talk in itself, but let's, if we could go through some of the Microsoft 365 things, and I can help you with, maybe making yourself more productive so you can spend more time in GitHub Copilot, more power to you. So these are the where Copilot's generally available: Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and Loop. I'm not going to go into Loop that much at all. I'm not going to go to Loop at all. I'll stick with kind of the core four here. Probably focus on the chat and Teams. I think that's where I'm really starting to find the most. I'm going there daily. Some of the other ones I tend to go to because of my role and because I teach at Case and Excel class, so I'm in Excel more than maybe most. But each of the Office applications brings its own little niche to it. So one of the things here, and this is probably a pretty important slide when people say, hey, what are you like, is Microsoft training on our stuff? Like, what are you learning from us? We don't save anything here. We take your user prompt, we throw it into to Copilot. It goes out to a semantic index. You can look up semantic indexes, which is cool. It's a vector database, so it pulls things together. It comes into the Microsoft Graph. So when I ask about my team and documents, et cetera, that's where it finds it, sends it back out, modifies the prompt, sends it out to the large language model. This is where the magic happens, and it starts to like iterate over my data, and then sends back response back into the post processing for some context and grounding. Trying to make sure things aren't going astray, and then back to my application. So this is a pretty common model for all of the Copilots, and from the Microsoft side of things, they're very, every now and then you'll see more things get added in different places, but just in terms of the processing. But the magic being kind of going out the large language model and getting back these responses. With that, as we start our first one, we're going to go with Copilot and Microsoft 365 chat. So as I said, I'm starting to spend more and more of my day here. You can go to copilot.microsoft.com to find out like what to get to the web version of this. I like to use it in Teams. I like to use it in Teams, so I tend to be here mostly. So there's some new features here. This one's pretty new. I haven't played around a lot with Ketchup, but you could say, hey, hey, what was that presentation about? And, help me prepare, for the presentation. Again, I'd had this presentation there, but I'm not scared at all to come in and say, okay, hey, put together a presentation for Sam and team around Copilot, etc. What should I use? That's super, super common. Let me pull up my prompts window. So a couple of things, like when I go through, here's one that was interesting. So Saturday, so over in this, I can click on these three dots and bring up my Copilot chat. So what I did here, and this is a little bit easier than doing it live, and mostly because it was Saturday. So I said, hey, give me my schedule for Saturday. I generally do it for work. And then what was interesting is I went through, I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to go to PeerW. So then I went down and I said, hey, like what's PeerW have to offer? And again, we've all searched Bing, Google, etc. What I really like those, I really get to my answer a lot faster. I don't have to click on links. I probably could have found the menu, but man, it did just such a great job. If you haven't been to PeerW and you're in Cleveland, I highly recommend it, by the way. And then, my wife and I will have some drinks. So I asked, hey, are there any specialty drinks? I saw this Cosmo Martini, and quite honestly, I'm like, oh yeah, my wife's all over it. She loves Cosmo. This is going to be perfect. She ended up having that drink. What I liked now is this is merging web data here, and then guess what? Microsoft doesn't have any information on PeerW, clearly not a customer, etc., or any of these down here. So you can see it's merging across both data sets there. Then so I come over and I don't know if you haven't done this, starting a new chat starts things out. You stay within a given context when you have your original chat. So I always start off with a new chat. And here I'm going to go, Come on. Having trouble seeing my mouse on the screen, so let me see if I can move the screen over here. Does that help? No. Oh my God. Why are you failing me, Excel? Let's see. Okay. Hopefully that worked. So here. So this is really interesting, and one of the things that I found here is when Copilot first came, we've had Copilot as a Microsoft employee for a number of months now, and when we first started out, the prompts very small, very like tactical, hey, tell me my schedule for the day. Now you're finding the prompts that are useful for the daily activities are starting to expand more and more into different things, and I'll show you that as well. But here, I want to do a 60-minute meeting for talking around Copilot, to help introduce new products. The agenda, like single line per item, adding a short description for each, trying to spend equal time on each. So I hit that, and it will generate this. And so, and this was, as I was prepping for this, I was like, hey, this is really great, but Sam and team, what they're going to want to know is how to expand this. So if I was doing this with Sam and team and talking to him, I'd say, hey, tell me about this Microsoft 365, how like we can extend the capabilities of Microsoft 365. So it will, as you notice, it had 6 before. Goes through and pulls out, this. And here's where this was like my discovery this weekend. It pulled out this like document here, this PowerPoint. I was like, oh my God, this is cool. I should, maybe I should leverage some of this PowerPoint. Well, this PowerPoint was 168 pages or 168 slides. So I said, one of the things I was like, oh, well, why don't you summarize that for me? Say, hey, if that's so useful, like maybe there's some summary that I want to add to that. So I, go through and have this look through the different slides and pull back, again, 168 pages of information. Does a really nice job summarizing it. And I can see, hey, there's some introduction. They talk about spending, generative AI opportunities, enabling transformation, customizing Microsoft Copilot. Okay, cool. That's Copilot Studio. Excellent. There's probably some stuff I can pull here. Oh, some good examples. Some really good stuff. So hey, this is this deck might be really useful to me. So then I say, can you revise the agenda, incorporate the topics from the Build Your Own Copilot, because I'll bring that. Also, can you create an email that I can send to the recipient? So here's, I need to reference, when I reference this, actually it should be already referenced because it's in this chat. So, and it does this every time. So hang on. I don't know if you ask me why it like all of a sudden moves that up. I have not done it and figured out why, but halfway through this it does. So to talk to the dev team. So then, hey, I have this meeting and I can I have a meeting agenda, etc. So in a little bit of time, I've gone through, I've pulled together some stuff that I want to talk about. I have some documents, etc. And really jumped into a meeting. And you could do this with, hey, a feature set, or I was thinking from a developer standpoint. Hey, a product manager comes up and says, hey, what do you want to like? Hey, there's this feature. I have this product spec that I've put together. Let's have a meeting. Let's brainstorm it. Other things that people have done is give me 5 thought-provoking questions. Give me some stuff to get going, etc. The other one, and while I looked at my calendar on a Saturday, one of the things I can do, and I'll go over to this other one here. has been really nice is like looking at my meetings for a given day. Like, hey, what do I have coming up? This has been, it was one thing to look on a Saturday and check out with peer W, but I can go in, I can start looking at these. Oh gosh, what do I have to do on this? Quick. Oh, I forgot to look in that AI ops stuff. I better check in that, or the C# presentation. Boy, I better get started on that this morning. So those kind of things are really starting to be useful. Useful in the day-to-day. Like, we're trying to get down to what are the 5 prompts that I'm going to run every day that make things worthwhile. This is definitely one of them. Going through my unread emails, etc., are also starting to be high on the list. So let's go back to, if I pop this up, and where were we? So, prepping for a meeting, prepping for the day, prepping for the workday. So some examples there. Any questions? I don't know, Sam, if you take them in line or not, but glad to answer any questions if there's something popping up. Okay, moving on. So one of the things, it's hard to demo Copilot in Teams meetings. So I had this video, and so when you have a meeting, one of the things that you can do is you have this meeting. There's a new thing with Microsoft, the new Microsoft Outlook called follow meeting. So you can click on, you can say yes, no, or follow. Follow is nice because it leaves your schedule open, right? It's not tentative. It's open and available. So it leaves your schedule available. Then when the meeting starts, the organizer will be informed to record the meeting. So the person records the meeting, and then after the meeting, you end up with all the information. You get the proposal, you get the notes, the tasks that need to be followed up, as well as a really good summary from the meeting. The other thing you can do is you can start to ask questions of the meeting. Oh, sorry about that. You can start to ask questions from the meeting. What other customers were discussed, like what the tone of the meeting was, and why we're leading with the proposal. So here's why we're leading with the proposal. What other solutions were discussed in the meeting? Like, you can really catch up. We've joked now is like, why bother going to meetings if you have all this information? I do have a theory that there could be an attendee-less meeting, like if you just wanted to ideate and have people and talk about what they should do and not do. One of the interesting things, though, is if you're in a meeting, you can do things like recap the meeting so far. So you join late, we're perfect for this meeting. Is, hey, not that GoToMeeting has this, but sorry about that. But you can do an intelligent recap of the meetings so that you can catch up during the meetings or ask what the tone is. So this is this is what you get when you're in the meeting thing. This is a screen summary of what it looks like, and the ability to ask it questions. The one interesting thing, like one of the things, if you're like, hey, what's a feature? During the meeting, there's a Copilot that runs during the meeting, and you can ask that Copilot questions about the meeting, but it doesn't go out. You'd have to go into your Teams chat if you wanted to ask questions, like check on something or check on a person, etc. The one other useful thing that I had, so back to aha moments. So I got a subject matter expert on a call with a customer, and we're going really well. And the customer basically laid out, hey, here's what I'd like to have in the meeting. And I was like, from what Matt just said, can you give us an agenda for the meeting? Boom, it popped it out right then in the meeting. So in an almost unprepared meeting, we figured out a way to prepare it. Then we asked, hey, did we hit on all the topics of the meeting that were in the agenda that we created at the beginning? I was like, no, the one thing you didn't hit on was this. It was like, oh my God, this thing's great. Finally find out in the meeting, how useful these things can be. Now, Copilot and Outlook. So there's 2 things right now. So there's new Outlook. Well, there's classic Outlook, which I'll launch. I closed down everything just so I wouldn't have to. And then there's the new Outlook. I so badly want to close this PowerPoint. Come on. Okay. So one of the things, so we talked a little bit about when you come into this calendar, you can go to these things now and say follow. So you can see you get this follow as in this new Outlook. It's not in the classic Outlook at this point. If I go into my inbox, there's a couple of things that I can do. One is I can reply with a meeting. So schedule with Copilot. So this is cool. So I hit schedule with Copilot. It goes out there. It'll show me like if people are out of office, etc. Using the scheduling assistant. David Brown's in a different time zone. I have a placeholder here. It took the conversation. So I've got the original item. It took the conversation and created an agenda and summarized the conversation so far about what the customer has concerns about, etc. So we're a way to go. So this is quickly rising in my estimation for something super worthwhile in terms of like gosh, hey, you should create an agenda for every meeting. Yeah, who has time, right? Now you have it done for you. So it works out really, really well. And then discard. The other thing that's starting to be useful, where is this? News. So I can come into like a one of these and then summarize the emails from Copilot. Try to okay, I'm summarizing something that's already a summary though. But I'm kind of it's hard to do a demo of your own inbox. Believe me, it's like, oh boy, that probably isn't good to have there. So you can get this summarized from Copilot in order to catch up on things. This really does, like long threads, etc. This was starting to become like a go-to for me, especially because I'll get pulled into a thread late, especially around some of our support stuff. So this is super helpful. Anything else that I wanted to do there? Oh, I did want to show you in. It's here too, but it's in the new Outlook too. But if I do a new
Bruce?
email now, yeah.
Can it read the summary for you?
No, I don't think it has that there. Yeah, you'd have to paste it into Word and have it read it. I don't think we have that yet. It won't surprise me if it's coming. But I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, thanks.
Let me do a quick scan. Yeah, no, doesn't have it yet. So, but here, the other thing here is you can draft with Copilot. So I can say, hey, writing an email to the CIO, can you tell them about writing an email to the CIO? Can you tell him how great Copilot is and when we can get a meeting on the books? We were talking and I'm doing really great here. I'm having to hit these spots based on like a mouse that I can't see. So here, I want to share with you how impressed I am with Copilot, its potential impacts on your product innovation. The hands-on experience has been remarkable. It's that, like, I can't write. This email gets across my feelings. Like, I truly feel like that. And if I didn't, I'd pull it out. Maybe I haven't been impressed, but, I wanted to share with you the capabilities of Copilot. Maybe I'm not impressed, but what I'm finding right now is I am really good with numbers and math and that thing, not so much with words. And this large language model helps get across kind of my feelings and thoughts in some of these applications, and it's just game changing for somebody that so long has struggled with words, etc. Any questions on Outlook or this one's evolving, catching up quick. For a while, like this Copilot summary wasn't in there, and again, there's a few things like I can't reply to a meeting with Copilot in the classic yet. It's only in the new version. Your mileage may vary. Please, don't kill me. I haven't fully adopted new Outlook yet. I use it for secondary accounts, Yahoo, Hotmail. I have a case account. Like I use it there yet. I haven't fully, other than like, hey, if I want to respond with a meeting, haven't embraced it as much as probably I should. It's mostly because that's just the way I work yet. I just have to get over that hump. So, any questions? Okay, Excel. This is a fun one because I teach this course in Excel, and I know about students and their use of Excel and some of the things that I've seen in my class. So, like things that I might have a student do is I might have a student say, add a column that shows profit margin. So Excel will go out there and look at the different fields that I have in this table. Right now, it only works with table data. You like step one, like if you were my students, what I would say is, okay, everybody, if you want to work with Copilot in Excel, make sure you have a table. And the first time a student comes back to me and say, hey, it isn't working for me, and I'd say, did you create the table? And they'd be like, no, I forgot to create the table. So you have to create the table. Then it shows you the formula, like, hey, here's what the formula is that I think you should use, and then you can insert, a column. Boom. How cool is that? And I was like, and labels it, profit margin, does all kinds of good things. One of the interesting things, one of the worst, and this is kind of hard for developers, but this conditional formatting manage rules. Like when you're creating rules in conditional formatting, this is one of the hardest hardest areas to when you do a new rule. Like these are great, but when you use a formula to determine cells, like this interface is really, really hard to use. So one of the things I did was say, hey, what if you did, can you add a conditional formatting to profit margin to values above 20% are green, between 0 and 20 are yellow, and below 0 is red. I throw that in there. Come on. Created a color scaling rule for me. Perfect. Finishing up, say apply. Voila. The cool part about this is again where I had another aha moment, is if I go into manage rules, it put the rule in there, right? And I can't tell you, my students, I have a conditional formatting homework exercise for my students, or a lab exercise. It nailed four of the six things where they could just copy it into here, and they would ruin my, exercise. It'd just be done for them. But what I like about this is it's, Satya and some of the leadership at Microsoft say, the AI guys that are just so it's going to change the way you work. You're going to interact with your computer differently. I was like, what, really? And then I saw this, and I'm like, this was a bit of an aha moment. Yes, if I'm writing in what my, this should be, as opposed to trying to fix the formula, and it puts in this rule that, into this box that I used to have to edit. Yeah, that's awesome. So, Excel, there's some stuff where it's doing some visualization and stuff. It's coming along. It's doing really well. If you're a Python developer and you're using Python, it's starting to be able to create the Python that you need within here as well. So that's a new thing within Excel. It's kind of mind-blowing to have Python within Excel. That's probably could be a whole different topic, Sam, if you're keeping track of things that you might want to talk next. But yeah, Python and Excel is a whole different topic, but also something that Copilot does really well. It doesn't, and one of the things, at least it hasn't yet, where if I want to write a macro in Excel, I literally go to Bing Chat and use Copilot there to write my macros, because it doesn't do it in Excel yet. So there's these weird little boundaries. One of the things that, in terms of talking to the group, I'm going to talk, hey, this it can do well. Not so much yet. That'll be changing. I'm sure it will converge a bit, but there's some things where you're like, wow, you'd think you'd do that right. Hey, how do I create a macro in the Excel Copilot? It isn't there right now. I end up using Copilot Chat. This one is, I'm going to switch out and go to PowerPoint. So one of the things that I've done with PowerPoint, there's really cool things with PowerPoint that you can do. I don't know if anybody knows about donor advised funds, but I'm getting older. There's a way to be charitable, and it's called donor advised funds. So I asked create a presentation on donor advised funds. So I talked to my financial planner guy. He's like, oh, if you're looking and you want to be charitable in the future, you can donate, you could put money now, it has some tax advantages, blah, blah, blah. And he gave me, this PDF, 5-page PDF, kind of tightly written, etc. on it. And, I just come back from Copilot, we're doing Copilot training. I've seen these things on presentations. I'm like, hey, throw me together a presentation on donor advised funds. So while this is working, I have a cheat, and it pulled together this thing on donor advised funds. And quite honestly, it was perfect. It was why did I have to read that PDF? I could have just researched it over here. This is awesome. So did a super great job on the benefits of donor advised funds, how they're used, etc. You can things if you don't like the way a slide looks, there's also Designer. So we flipped over to Designer, which gives you great ideas. That's been around for a while, but you see the mirroring of the two, of using Copilot for one thing, etc. And then this for the other. And I've had it where I did this. I was telling people I had to talk about .NET, and various, implementations of it. And then I said, hey, create 3 slides on why it would be better to, or create some slides for this presentation on why some of the benefits of going from full framework to .NET Core. I guess I could have created 3 slides on the horrific experiences of going from .NET to .NET Core. So yeah, was it Matt that was on the call earlier that, or Mark? Mark was leading off with that, if you were here for the introductory stuff. So, save. So, I also, had it do this agenda, where it flipped, this is what I had. Hey, can you make this agenda look nicer? Came here, could play around with Designer, a couple of ways to skin the cat there. Then the one other thing I'll leave you with is, in Word the one time. So I really, as I put together my Excel class, and I kind of threw it together on my own. It was like, hey, can you create a syllabus for an introduction to Excel? It needs to have 14 lessons. It is college level, and give me some ideas for some homework and lab assignments. Oh, got to put it in the Copilot window. Also, if I had a reference file, I could reference it. If there's somebody that already had done things before, we can leverage that, etc. So as you can see here you go. It's even putting it in a table, and it's really interesting because this would have been really great to have before I created this class, because it hit on a lot of the there's my conditional formatting, right? Data bars and scales. Data validation, pivot tables. Yep, it is really close to exactly what I had for mine. So I was really kind of happy with it, but it was also where were you when I needed it? So a really great way of starting out in education, etc. Program. Hey, you have ideas for a program. You can go through and try things there. The other. And the last thing I have is, if this is interesting to you, there's a couple of things. You can build plugins for Microsoft 365 in your own applications, and then build your own custom applications. So that's where I see some extending this plugin area for M365 is, if Sam said, hey, next talk, that this is this is what if Sam gets a good speaker for that, I want to come see this one because this is super, super interesting to me. And hopefully I'm kidding. I'm sure I can help Sam find somebody if he's interested in following up with that. But that was kind of what I had. If you're looking for more places to try, there's Copilot Labs. See if I can find Copilot Labs. Which becomes a good starting point for what we're finding right now is finding good places and good prompts for folks, for your everyday apps, powerful prompts like, hey, how did you do this? Creating presentations, etc. And really starting to go in and finding that in-depth prompting is key. You're an admin assistant, like telling the tool what it's doing for. You can even have copilots help you create prompts by saying, hey, I need you to help me create prompts for Excel. You're an excellent prompt creator, and I'm trying to find prompts that will work to do conditional formatting. Give me some examples, etc. So some really good things. So copilot.cloud.microsoft, to start your journey. And with that, I think that's all I had. So hopefully you appreciated a trip around Copilot. And if you have any questions, stop sharing. Oh, no, don't want to leave the meeting. There we go.
Thanks, Bruce.
Any questions?
Bruce, does this Copilot run on Mac?
Yes, it should. Yeah, okay. You should see it on the Mac as well. Again, now I'm running so a little bit of I have it at my organization. So depending on where you are and how you do Office 365, you can either get it through your organization or there's the ability as an individual user. Bruce Szabo at hotmail.com can subscribe to Copilot for $20 a month, and I get a bulk of what I showed you there. But I don't have access to kind of my organizational library stuff. I'd have or my OneDrive and some of those kind of things, but I wouldn't have the context of my organizational stuff. I also had a question one time, hey, can you do that meeting summarization stuff with Zoom? It's like, no, you could probably get the transcript from Zoom and then use it as a document and start to play around and query it, but we don't interact with Zoom. So yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I was probably talking a bit like where I just get stream of conscience because yes, Excel topic for a C# user group, like trying to have Excel take over the world. So
yeah.
Well, Python, it seems to be like it's in everything now.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing.
It's crazy where that. I mean, I had people using Python, 15 years ago, and I think we made fun of them, right? I mean, like it wasn't the realm of like the Linux and the Unix guys. Like the fact that thing is front and center and everything is just crazy to me.
Yeah. So. But still very cool and very interesting to see it. Yeah. I know that when SQL Server started incorporating it into that opened up a whole new realm for machine learning. So that was also useful.
Well, and it was funny because I went out, again, we're wandering tremendously off topic, but hey, I like to be around smart people. But I went out to your LinkedIn Learning thing type discussion and was like, hey, tell me about Python and Excel. And what I ended up getting were a bunch of Python LinkedIn Learnings that talked about libraries in Python that could then create Excel things and Excel objects. And it was like the exact polar opposite of what I was looking for. But, did I go through? Yeah, that killed a whole Saturday. That's our going down the rabbit hole. But hopefully useful for you. And again, glad to answer questions. If you need to hit me up, feel free. Glad to do it. And whether it's about Microsoft Copilot or Microsoft stuff in general,
or maybe Python.
Yeah. even
hey, Bruce?
yes.
With the Copilot Excel, is that also used for data modeling within Excel? Like, does Copilot, can it do that yet, or is that still?
I have not. So the thing that I know is I could give you an answer right now, and tomorrow it could be released. Like it, this thing is changing so fast. It didn't. It was very rudimentary. Like it could only work with data tables. So I don't think so. And some of the stuff, like if you were there, and depending on where you were in your organization, I may push you over to Power BI. I feel like that's got more natural language and
Uh,
analyst type activities than Excel does at the moment. And even the team, like Excel, like it's crazy teaching this course because I have a lot of students from different countries, and they'll be in different languages and like the dialog boxes and all that kind of stuff. So I can only imagine that there's some complexity to the languaging around Excel that make it a little bit harder to get this Copilot thing introduced. As much as we're language agnostic in things like Word, etc., um, it really is interesting in Excel. I think that it's created some interesting challenges.
oh,
So not
thank you.
quite there yet, but it's evolving so quickly.
Great. Any other questions or comments for Bruce? All right. Well, thanks again, Bruce. I just have a couple concluding slides before we adjourn for the evening.
Great.
So if I may, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So the recording will be posted on YouTube, and I kindly ask you to subscribe to get the upload notifications. Likewise, tech events will be posted on my blog, samnasser.blogspot.com, and you can subscribe to that as well to get the updates. Last but not least, in the chat window, you'll see that there's a link for the feedback evaluation. If you would, please fill that out so we can provide Bruce with some constructive criticism.
Yeah.
For those that are looking for work, check out devitjobs.com. It's a new website that basically allows you to filter on the type of technology, the location, and the type of work, whether it's remote or in person. So feel free to check that out if you're looking for work. Lastly, if you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to me, snasser@nistechnologies.com. You can also find all my socials and links on linktree/samnasser. And lastly, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, I invite you to do so. And so with that, thanks again to Bruce and for all those who attended, and look forward to seeing you all at next month's meeting. Good night, everyone.